Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing fine. Welcome back to another lesson. Today's lesson is on practical phonetics. I mean the place and manner of articulation, where and how sounds are made. The lesson falls into four main parts: an introduction, places of articulation, manner of articulation, and classifying consonants, of course according to their place and manner of articulation. 1. Introduction. Thinking about sounds. This is an exercise or a practice I always use with my students, just to explain to them how sounds are produced. Look at this. Say M. Where is the M sound produced? Of course it is a bilabial consonant. This is its place of articulation. The two lips come together, they come close, and we say M. Now pinch your nose and see what happens. M. It stops. And it is a nasal, not an oral consonant. Pinch the nose again and say M. M. It is a stop, and it is also a nasal, not an oral. Now put your fingers in the ears. What do you hear? Yes, the vibrations of the vocal cords. So it is a voiced consonant. Therefore, we can say that M is a bilabial, stop, nasal, and voiced consonant. 2. Some places of articulation. Bilabial consonants. Look at the image. The two lips come together, as in these sounds. P, P in pie, B, B in by, M, M in mute, W, W in wood. Therefore, bilabials are produced when the two lips come together, come close. Sometimes, they just come nearly close, as in W, wood. Labiodental consonants. Now here, the upper teeth come together or come in articulation with the lower lip, as in F, F, fine, V, V, vine. So, labiodental consonants are produced when the lower lip come close with the upper teeth, okay? Dental consonants. These ones are produced when the tip of the tongue touches the upper teeth, as in th, thin, and this. Alveolar consonants. These ones are articulated when the tip or the blade of the tongue touches the alveolar ridge. The alveolar ridge is that place just before the upper teeth. Look at these examples. T, as in tie, d, die, s, su or su, z, as in zoo, n, as in night, l, as in light. Post-alveolar or palato-alveolar consonants. Now these ones are produced when the tip of the tongue or the blade of the tongue come close with a part just before the alveolar ridge, as in these examples. Sh, shu, pressure. J, pleasure. Ch, cheap. J, jeep. R, rock. Look at the tip of the tongue. It's not exactly on the alveolar ridge. It's a little bit before the alveolar ridge. Palatal consonants. These ones are produced when the blade of the tongue touches the hard palate, the ceiling of the mouth. As in this example, or this sound, yeah, repeat it, yeah, as in yes. Palatals can vary a little bit. Sometimes they are produced with the front of the tongue near or touching the hard palate, as in yeah, we saw it. Or, and this is the other variation, with the blade of the tongue near the hard palate, the ceiling of the mouth, as in ch, ch, in this word, chin, for example. Velar consonants. Velar, they come from the velum. Now the velum is a muscular flap that closes off the nasopharynx during swallowing or speaking. So velars are produced with the back of the tongue touching the soft palate, as in k, in curl, or g is in girl, as in girl, as in rung. The back of the tongue touching the velum or the soft palate. 3. Some manners of articulation. Plosives. To understand this, think of an explosion or stops. So, some bilabials, and this is their place of articulation, are also plosives. Listen. P, B. They release that, air that makes some sort of explosion, though soft. Some alveolars are also plosives, like T and D. There is that releasing of some air. Okay. Velars are also plosives. Some velars are also plosives, as K and G. Think of an explosion or a stop. Well, somehow in between, the air is released and at the same time there is a stop. Fricatives. This time think of a friction, like a hissing sound. Some labiodentals are fricatives, like F, V. Some alveolars are also fricatives, like S, Z. Some palatoalveolar or postalveolar sounds are also fricatives, like sh, j. Oral or nasal. Sounds can be either oral or nasal. Now, when the velum is lowered, allowing the air to enter the nasal cavity, these are nasals. If it is not lowered, the sounds are oral. Nasals. Some bilabials are also nasals. Listen to this one. M, m. The air goes through the nose. Some alveolars are also nasals, like n, n. And also some velars, like n, n. You see, in all these ones, the velum is lowered and it allows the air to go through the nasal cavity. Other consonants. Affricates. An affricate is a combination of a stop and a fricative. Listen to this one. Ch. So we can say that ch is voiceless, post-alveolar, and an affricate. Another one, j. This one is voiced, post-alveolar affricates. So both of them, ch and j, are post-alveolar affricates, but one is voiceless, ch. There is no vibration of the vocal cords. And j, it is voiced. Okay? Approximant. An approximant is produced when articulators approach each other but do not touch. We say in exact closure, like in w, r, and e. A lateral. A lateral is also called lateral approximant, and here the air flows over sides of the tongue. Just try it with l. When you say l, the air flows over the two sides of the tongue, on the right and on the left, okay? So these are, some other consonants. I think it is very healthy to give a summary of both places of articulation and manners of articulation. Now let's start by places of articulation. These are bilabials, and here the two lips, bilabial is linked to the lips, the two lips come close together, like in these sounds, p, b, m, w. Labiodentals, now here the contact is between the lips and the teeth, like in f, fine, v, vine. Dentals, now here we think about the tongue and the teeth, like in thin, th, or then, the. Now alveolars, here we think about the tongue and the alveolar ridge, as I told you before. Listen to the sounds. T, d, s, z, n, l. Palatal alveolars, now here we think about the tongue and the front part or the hard palate, as in sh, shu, j, measure, and this one it's in the middle, j in the middle of the word, ch, cheap, j, jeep, r, rack. Palatals. Now palatals, we of course think about the tongue and the hard palate, as in e, in this word yes. Now velars, the tongue of course and the velum. The velum, we said, is that soft palate at the back of the mouth, as in k and g and n. Listen to this word, running. Glottals, here we think about the glottis. There is only one sound. It's the glottis that produces this sound, we think about the glottis, right? As in hospital. Summary of manners of articulation. We have plosives or plosive stops, like p, b, t, d, k, and g. We also have fricatives, f, v, th, th, s, z, sh, j, and h. This glottal. We have also affricates. We have a stop and a frication. Okay. We talked about this earlier. We have two. Ch, look at the stop, and j. And of course we said that ch is voiceless and j is voiced. Then we have nasals, and this is a manner of articulation as well, because the air goes through the nasal cavity. We have three. M, n, n. Then the last one, we have approximants. They can be either central or lateral. The centrals are w, r, e, and the lateral is only one, l. L. 4. Classifying consonants. As you can see, All consonants have different characteristics. They can be either voiced or voiceless. They have also a place of articulation where two organs actually come together or near to each other. They can also be central or lateral. They can be oral or nasal. And also we have the manner of articulation. That is how we produce that sound. Is it through the nose, through the oral cavity? Is it at the back of the mouth, or next to the alveolar ridge, with the lips, etc., etc. Okay. Now look at this example. The word is sing. So s. If we talk about s as a consonant, as a sound, of course it is voiceless. It is an alveolar, and that's the place of articulation. The tip of the tongue touches the alveolar ridge. It is central, at the center. It is also oral, not through the nasal cavity. And there is a friction, it is fricative. Now if I ask you a question, what is that sound that is voiceless, alveolar, plosive stop? Think about it. Ah yes, t. Look at it. Look at t. Produce it. It is voiceless, of course. It is an alveolar because the tip of the tongue, touches the alveolar ridge. It is a plosive because we have that explosion. And t. At the end we have also a stop. Another question. How can you describe k? How can you describe k? Think about it. K. Oh yes, it is first voiceless. It is a velar, and that's the place of articulation. K, k. It is a plosive because there is that explosion. And at the end, when we say k, after the explosion, there is a stop. So it is a voiceless velar plosive stop. In conclusion, there is a chart that summarizes everything. Places of articulation and manners of articulation. Pause the video and have a look at the chart. This is it for today. My lesson once again has come to an end. I hope it is fruitful. But let me tell you something. The more you practice these sounds and you produce them by yourselves, you try to put the right place of articulation or the right manner of articulation, you will end up pronouncing the English language the right way. Thank you very much once again for listening to me, and ta-ta for now.